Tone is in the fingers? Shucks, who told you that? Tone is in the volume. We've all heard the tales as guitar players, turning up your amp to 10, or is it 11?
11. Look.
Apparently something magical happens when you turn up your amp all the way. I'm gonna test a few different rigs in my arsenal and put it to the test. Does the tone of a guitar amplifier actually get better as you turn it up? And I think factually we can say yes, it does, because we have evidence of it through the course of rock and roll history and beyond. And the amps that come to mind are very specific, and I'm gonna get into a couple of those today, but I'm also gonna get into different types of amps that you wouldn't think to crank all the way up, and with which type of guitar and pickups, it can all drastically affect the tone. So without further ado, let's find out. Is tone in the volume?
11. Look.
This first rig I'll show you is my Bullhead Paragon. It's a 40-watt tube amplifier, and I'm pairing it with my PRS cabinet with 4 10-inch greenback speakers. So the way I'll go through this video is I'm gonna dial in my ideal amp sound that I think is just the perfect use of whatever rig in question, and then I'm just gonna turn the volume all the way up. And we'll have a comparison. And I've already filmed all the playing parts. Let me tell you, the tone is in the volume. Just a really unique sound. I've actually never turned up that amplifier, and with the 4x10 I think it really opens up the sound and really makes it rich and full. It almost sounds like a fuzz when you're cranked up to 10 on the Bullhead. Very delightful news indeed. I'll be dialing in that tone in the future, and I thought the snappiness of PRS CE with the bolt-on neck paired with the humbuckers, it's just a perfect mid-range tasty little tone, wouldn't you say? Let's move along, shall we? This is a late 60s Fender Super Reverb. It has the 4 original 10-inch Fender Blue Label speakers inside. So this amp is notoriously known for being really loud, and that doesn't mean you have to necessarily turn it all the way up. It's just a loud amp, despite the fact that it's only 40 watts. You really gotta crank it to at least 4 or 5, which is way beyond bedroom volume for this amp to sing, and well, when you crank it even further, you'll find out. So that first tone is the quintessential Strat sound, and I actually think it sounds better than when the amp is dimed. And that's the thing about old amps, and maybe guitar amps in general, they all have sweet spots, whether that is turned all the way up to 10, or maybe like I have it set at around 5. All I know is when you dial in this amp just right with a Strat single coils, it's that sound you're looking for. Let's move on. Now, potentially the most surprising of this video, have you ever turned up a small amp? It just sounds like a roaring Tiger Phoenix. And this amp's no exception. It's a Fender Princeton Reverb 65 reissue. It's only 15 watts, but it packs a punch. And it really makes a difference having, instead of a 10-inch speaker, a 12-inch speaker, I think, in this amp in particular. But as per usual, we'll start with my preferred amp setting, and then we'll get to the Tiger Phoenix setting. And also for this amp, I'm going to use a big hollow body guitar just to really get the luxurious, rich overtone saturating the soundscape. The goal here is to really ride the volume knobs because that's sort of an underlying theme of this video. A lot of people turn their amps up to 10 and then turn their volume down on their guitar, and that's their clean sound. So I'm gonna kind of get a clean half volume sound first, and then we'll dime it. Look, Ma, my first indie riff. No, but that aesthetic, a big giant hollow body into a little amp cranked up, that's just inspiration fuel. Next amp up is a classic Marshall, late 60s. I got this from a friend. Its origins are classified. Let's just say Jimi Hendrix used this exact same style amp as a PA speaker. He didn't have anything mic'd up on his cabs. He just used this amp and turned it all the way up. This is a 100 watt amp and I opted for a 212. This PRS 212, there's something about it. It really loves loud amplifiers. It just tightens everything up, and this is the rock and roll sound. So I have to use a rock and roll guitar and channel my rock heroes. Well, that's a Marshall on 10 or 11.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
No wonder so many people try to emulate the Marshall stuff. It's pretty good. Now, a couple honorable mentions I want to throw in here. I have different guitars that go into these dime amps just for my own information to see what humbuckers, for example, would sound like into that otherwise kind of Strat setup that I had with the Fender Super Reverb. It sounds good. Not my favorite tone. What about if I went Strat into that dimed Marshall sound? Oh, that feels very Hendrixian, but really toned is in the finger, because you have to control that volume with these things. But I will say, it is fun to control loud amps. It's something worth doing. Just make your parents or your roommates or your neighbors mad. Who cares? You only live once. Turn up your amp and just say, I don't know what happened. I don't know. Just try it once. Let me know in the comments if you liked the sound of the amps turned up, or if you liked my sweet spot sounds. I thought they were all just wonderful. I'm glad I got to go down this rabbit hole with you. Until next time, keep shredding.